Burger, 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 burger. Burger, burger, baby. Burger, burger, burger. A burger, burger. Burger, burger, baby. Hi, burger, baby. I'm a burger, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm a burger, burger, baby. Burger, burger, baby. I'm a burger, burger, baby. I'm a burger. I'm a burger, burger, baby. I'm a burger. I'm a burger, burger, baby. Go boop, 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 boop. Sound check, boop, 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 boop. I'm a burger, burger, baby. Go burger, burger, baby. He's a burger, burger, baby. Go burger, 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 baby. Sound check with the burger, burger, baby. Sound check. I got a burger, burger, baby. Yo, Pac-Man with the burger, burger, baby. Hope y'all can hear me and see me. What's up, Hunter? How you doing, man? I've been watching you. I've been watching you, baby. You're on fire. Loud and clear. Awesome. Thank you, Adramir. Okie dokie. Lemon chokey and a fine finoki. Okie finoki. Welcome back to Chadwick Swamp. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. Oh, yeah. Okie finoki with the big bad chokey bro. He's a burger, burger, baby. Got a burger, burger, baby. Yo, hey, you got a burger? I could use an extra burger. Burger, burger, baby. Oh. Hey, everyone. Just so you know, it's me. Hey, I'm here behind the camera today for a little change of pace. We're going to get into some drawings. You know, my name is Simon, and I like drawings. Hello, everybody. I'm going to expand this photo shop just a little bit so we can get this nice and big. I noticed in the camera shot, like the bigger the mo better when it comes to these drawing videos where you use a camera. So I know it's common to just do the screen share thing. That's a little more like precise and on point. But what around here is done precisely and on point? Absolutely nothing. Thanks for the tip, bruv. That'll buy this beer right here. It's kind of fun for the camera. You get a little less resolution on what you see as far as the drawing goes, but you get a lot more data on like what is actually going on. Sometimes I even film the keyboard a little bit so you can see like how I use my keyboard shortcuts, space bar and whatnot. But today we are going to be talking about getting some more like sort of analog looks in your digital artwork. So if you're not, like a big digital artist, or you don't use a lot of digital tools to create RPG stuff, you might find this stream to be hideously boring and overly technical in detail. On the other hand, if you are into that kind of stuff, I know a lot of you all are into that kind of stuff, hopefully you'll find some useful material as we journey forward. And we're going to ignore non sequiturs in the chat, and I'm going to get into this. Let's see. So for one thing, we had an off week in our group. And so I didn't want to sort of come up with any kind of a filler sort of video or anything. So there's no OSC report, no game report for tonight. But we're going to kind of get into this stuff. And I've been letting this sort of these kind of videos of mine like rot a little bit in the last few months. So I thought I would get back to Burger Baby, and Burger Baby can bring the heat to the street. And thanks for Ungabum. All right. Anyway, so this is it. So what I want to do is get into a drawing tonight. And I think what we're going to get into to start is probably like something mappy oriented. Now, I know that if you're a game master out there, you probably draw all kinds of things. Whether you consider yourself an artist or not, you probably draw these kinds of things quite often. You probably draw this quite often, right? The staircase. Whether you think you're an artist or not, anybody who's doing game mastering is faced with visual presentation at some point. Even sometimes if it's just harvesting art from online. Anyway, cheers, everybody. But at the sort of next level, there's also a lot of people out there who are into RPGs who are also artists, because it's a super fun sort of topic in art. Like we all love to do, portraits of dwarves. They're so fun to do. You got your big nose, and then you don't have to deal with all the details of the lower face because you just have this big beard, right? And then you got the little mouth here. Maybe there's some teeth in there, and there's the beard here, and it's just kind of this stuff, just magic's just sort of happening. You got some cheekbones. The beard continues, right? And like with Dusty from ZZ Top heading up to the Great Gig in the Sky this week, this is kind of even cooler to draw dwarves because we all know that ZZ Top was a band of dwarves. One more reason to love them. And maybe, this is like a new character, especially doing character portraits is like usually the number one thing that will lure RPG hobbyists into doing some form of art. It might just be, this might be all you ever do. Like you just kind of, that's your drawing and you kind of give him a little filled in background, like he's in a little cameo and actually came off like a hat, but that's okay. Maybe it's a hat and you're done. And, maybe that's all that you ever do. Like just character portraits are definitely like a gateway drug to doing RPG art, because while you're sitting there and playing, if you're anything like me, you're always drawing on your character portrait, or you're drawing your character's sword, or you're writing your character's name is one thing that one of my players does over and over. He just writes his name as a sort of a mnemonic device to think while we're playing. But drawing is a big part of our hobby. And so I do like to bring it up on the channel now and again, and especially because it's a huge, huge part of my life. I do all the art for all my own books and everything, and it's a constant, never-ending workload is the sort of the serious way to put it. But since I just love doing it so much, every day I'm on vacation because I love my occupation. So today I wanted to cover it's Friday night. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to cover, this is Ingrid Bernal coming at you right now. I wanted to cover some ideas about how to grant some of what makes RPG art sort of feel the way that it does in your work. Okay. So if you can see, look closely at your stream here, you'll see I have just this, you see the little guy there? And let's zoom in. You can really see it. Boop, boop, boop. There you go. See that's my brush. This is very zoomed in. It's just a hard oval brush, right? A really basic, just a fat marker. Okay, so if you just draw with this kind of marker, you tend to get it's sort of an overly clean or overly perfect look. And so right away, you notice that I'm doing the very first lesson I wanted to talk about tonight, which is letting your hand introduce error even when you don't really want error. So let's go back to this portrait idea, okay? So let's say we're doing a character portrait. Now take a look at that. That is far different than this. So over here, why are there all these little wobbles and wiggles in these lines? And here, oh, well, isn't this better because these lines are so smooth? Well, the fact is that the eye sort of doesn't really like overly smooth things. It feels somewhat dead. Like even those eyes, I started doing my habits again. So like these would be the more, there we go, would be the more perfect, like that. Here's my nose. So you see how these lines are all so smooth and decisive, right? So I'm using very fast, sort of almost like staccato movements and really having a tight hand, like my hand is muscularly tight to get these lines all looking that way. But then over here, everything's just, I'm like letting things, weird little things happen. Like, why is that there? I don't know. But this is the first lesson to start to bring life into your artwork, is to just let your hand both release pressure as well as sort of just wiggle as you draw. Like, look at this line right here. The sort of perfect version of that line is basically this. or maybe that. But here I've drawn it and I've kind of introduced these little ziggles in it. And these little wiggly bits and movement, they give your artwork more life. They feel more like not only someone touched it, but I think the mind interprets these kinds of imperfections as actual detail. So like, oh, it reminds me of a person, because they have imperfections. Their faces are slightly sort of asymmetrical, or maybe it's the way that light is playing on the surface, is creating uneven shadows. And your mind makes up all these excuses for why I might be seeing these sort of imperfections. Now, this may seem like a really easy and straightforward lesson to absorb, but honestly, I think it takes years to just relax yourself into it, because I think there's a very common fear of like doing this when you're drawing, that you're just going to get this white hot agony of vibrating lines, and nobody really likes how that looks. So one way that people battle it is they draw by doing this. They draw by this sort of scribble technique. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. And this sort of keeps you from drawing like oddly vibrational lines, but it's also known as seeking, or it's like looking for the line. And it can lead to messier drawings. And so if you want to draw like I do, which is just with just ink, there's definitely a lot of confidence involved and a lot of drawing things wrong. Like these cheekbones are drawn completely wrong. These facial proportions are wrong. Like a more realistic facial proportion set would be to like bring this down here and bring it down here. And probably all my features are probably too big. The mouth is too far from the chin. Like this is more realistic, especially if someone's sort of looking down, and then you're ready to do a hairdo or a helmet or whatever. And you see how that's starting to look more real. Now that may be the case, but I've found that in time, character and life and sort of looking into the camera and the intrigue that some art can create, a lot of it comes from this relaxation. So that, my friends, is lesson 1. And this is a super tough lesson to learn, but a very easy lesson to understand. And I think that's an important distinction here, is that everyone can understand this lesson, but to do it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. And those are good lessons in my mind because you get the understanding out of the way quickly. Right? I'm not using a bunch of time just trying to grasp what it is you're asking me to do. What I'm spending my time doing is trying. And I think that is, when it comes to art, I think that's a really important distinction. I think that when art is talked about in a theoretical way or in a sort of volumetric or sort of proper way, I think it can be hard to grasp what it is you're telling me to do. In this case, I'm literally inviting you to take what would be this line and to make it that line. And to let yourself enjoy whatever might happen. Like right away here, I kind of want to do that. Why do I want to do that? I don't know. I just do. My mind sees something in the line. Whereas over here, this line is so perfect and lifeless, I don't really want to add anything to it. Like what, maybe something like that? I don't know, maybe like a bold line like that. But these little variations and accidents create implied detail or implied shape or volume. And especially if you're like me, where you don't have a lot of traditional training in lighting and volume, sometimes the implication that you know what you're doing in those areas is even more powerful than your actual skills. So see, again, here, I'm just sort of playing on what my mind sees in these errors and wants to play with. And so just to be fair, I have to return to this one and I have to add these sort of clean sets of shades, right? I know that eyeshadow is always sort of a thing, but there I cheated. I did a wiggly, like that should be like that, right? There should probably be sort of a dark side of the head here and a dark side of the cheek here. So right away, I hope that you can see this, is the relaxation of your hand goes along with the relaxation that's in your head. And is there a holding technique? Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for asking, Kuchigari. That's a great question. Your hand will definitely hurt at first more when you're digital drawing, whether you're using a Cintiq surface like I am, or you're using a Wacom down here, you'll find that your hand is really scared of making errors because this is a somewhat unfamiliar feeling. And fear and hesitation is what causes hand pain. The amount of drawing does not cause hand pain. I do hundreds of drawings a month. It's not because of amount. It's because of tension, and fear causes hand tension. So you just got to let go of it. Let yourself wiggle a little bit. And that's the first lesson for tonight. So number one, loosen up, yo. Loosen up. It's okay. And you know what? At first, your drawings are going to look like shit. They really are. And it's okay. That's part of the journey and the process of becoming an artist. If it were fun and easy, everybody would do it and be good at it. So it is a challenge. And at first, there is a tough barrier, which is your art not looking how you want it to look. But if you understand the lessons, you can apply yourself to the time to then master the lessons. And that's a lot where I like to put my head. I have trouble putting a lot of time and effort into understanding, but I am very good at practicing. Okay, so that's our first lesson, is loosen up. All right, let's talk about number two. Number two, I think we're going to give it a generic name, which is going to be noise. And I've got two methods of noise for you here. We got pencil noise, and we have bleed. Now, why the hell do you want noise in your art? You should be wondering. I would be wondering that, because noise is a part of traditional media. So if you just watch closely what I'm doing, I'm going to change to a mid-tone gray. I also shrank my pen considerably. You see that? And I'm also going to just take the opacity down on my pen a little bit. This way, when it crosses itself in different strokes, it'll slightly darken itself. Now let's get into a similar drawing, but let's do like a weird hand. Okay, so in my first set of pencil, if I was drawing with pencil on paper, I would get a sense of what I want out of my drawing before I really draw it, right? You kind of like, I'm going to do this kind of hand with the pinky out kind of thing. Hello. I'm an improperly drawn hand with a stubby thumb. You know, that's kind of my style. I just come to accept it over the years. Okay, and then there's a thing here. I'm pretty sure there's a couple wrinkles like that. There's my pencil. Okay, so now I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to draw. But now, for the sake of noise, I'm just going to let myself be sketchy for a minute. Sketchy means just letting the pencil drift back and forth over and over, lightly hitting the paper each time. And what I'm doing is just seeking out which lines might look slightly better than the lines I initially made. And I'm just drifting and like letting my pen or my pencil not stop moving. Just let it kind of keep on moving and make a mess. You want the mess because this is the lesson about mess. Look at this. And then you might be feeling like, oh, it's kind of dark over here because I always make the left sides of things dark. Okay, fine. Well, then we can sketch in some lines and kind of scribble a little bit. Okay, great. So good job. You're done. Okay, so now go back to what we had before, which is a simple, fully opaque, black, slightly larger pen, like that. Oh, and if that's not quite visible, sorry about that. Let me make it a little stronger. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, filming with a camera can be... There, you should be able to see my pencil a little better now. Here, let's get our exposure down a little bit. Maybe it's a little hot. How's that? That should be a little better. Okay, so, and yes, that is the creature from the Black Lagoon, also known as Old Greg. So now I'm going to go back in with the black pen, and I'm just going to do only the lines that I really like. So if you guys can see that better, let me lighten it up just a bit, because I don't want to compete it with my pen. There, you should still be able to see it. Okay, cool. So now I go back with my pen, and I'm just going to do the few lines that I think are maybe the best ones. Look how few lines I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was one line. 5. This is going to be like maybe 40 lines to do this whole thing. I'm loosening. I'm like letting some weird little errors happen. Doing very few lines here. And then those 2 wrinkles I thought about. And done. So just notice how few things actually occurred there. And now how you have this look, which looks like something that somebody drew like while they're in class. Now I'm going to grab my eraser and I'm just going to erase a few of the pencil lines that I feel a little are disruptive. And by disruptive, I mean like they distract me and make me feel kind of crummy, like I don't like them. I don't have any real standard for this. Just like that. There, done. And that's it. That's the first part of the noise tutorial. That is pencil noise. And so it's really often that people doing drawings on paper, to make sure that they don't make too many errors and that they don't get a drawing they dislike, will use pencil first and then use their pen. But the accidental side effect of that process is that you get this hand-drawn process that really feels cool. I mean, that hand has a very drawn while I was sitting in the bar kind of feel. Like it definitely feels very material. It feels very touchable rather than feeling overly digital. Now, the second one is what I want to talk about with bleed. Now, luckily, we live in an age where we have these amazing digital tools. So I've got my black pen here, and I want to get a little bit of what looks like bleed. I'm going to show you directly how to do that. Go into your brush options. Give yourself a little bit of spacing. Go to shape dynamics and add yourself a little bit of angle jitter like that. That's 20% angle jitter. Now, I know that's super specific stuff, but if you're in the business of doing this, these are going to be very handy tips for you. Now, take a look at my line. Here, let's get in here a little bit. Okay, now we're kind of leaning in on our drawing, right? We're really close. Look at that. That's the line that I'm getting now. It's like drawing on soft, absorbent paper with a micron pen or with a fine tip Sharpie. The smaller that you make your pen, the less bleed you'll get, just like in real life. The bigger you make your pen, like a Sharpie, look at all that bleed you get. And all that is a little bit of scatter and a little bit of angle jitter on an ovular brush. See that? So now, let's go back all the way, getting rid of our erases, getting rid of our pen work. Okay, that's as far as we can go. So now I'm going to take my bleeding pen. I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to do these 20 or so lines that make my kind of weird, blocky looking hand. And then boop, some bold ones there. We got our thing and our 2 wrinkles. I'm going to go over some of those early lines so we give them some bleed. And then I'm going to get my eraser like I did before. I'm going to get rid of a few of these lines that I feel are distracting, or that just don't make me feel happy. I'm not even sure why. Just don't like them. So I'm just going to clean it up just a little bit. And there you go. Boop, I don't like that one either. And now you can see, if we really lean in a little bit, look at that. Look how analog that feels. It looks like drawing on soft paper. Because I've got my pencil magic. I've got my bleed happening in my marker. And all these things, once you get the technique, you can adjust to taste. And there are millions of little fine adjustments that you can do. And you learn that over time. I don't know what braggy is. Sorry, old zine. As for Azimuth, digital drawing for under $500, you could maybe get a tablet for that much. But it's going to be tough. You can maybe get an iPad and Procreate for like a used iPad and maybe get away with that, but it is going to be tough. So the barrier to entry can be a little bit expensive. So there you go. Those are my 2 main tips, and there's a million others, but those are my 2 main tips for getting noise into things. And of course, if this were me and I was still sort of going on this drawing, I would do some little accidental ink blips like this. These are just dots. They're nothing. There's nothing magic here. I go back to my gray color and I kind of get into this and wait a minute. I'm starting to do something. What is this habit? Oh, it's a habit we all know way too much about in the world of RPGs. Because remember, we're not just drawing. We're thinking RPG drawing. And if you already have a computer, Azimuth, then get yourself a bamboo tablet. That's the cheapest Wacom you can get to get into it. I still have my bamboo. I did all of Xeno Dead Zone on a bamboo. So it's a pro level tool. It's a great tool that lasts. But you do need a computer. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. If you guys notice what I'm doing right here, you should be feeling something familiar there. That's what we're going to get to next. And you know what it is. Oh my God. The ever elusive, the ever time consuming. How many men's minds have been destroyed by cross-hatching? Dun, dun, dun. Now, if y'all know either Skull Fungus or Dyson Logos, I think Dyson Logos especially, they have made cross-hatching a legendary art form. It's always been a big part of RPG art. And let's just talk about what it is before we talk about how to do it. So I'm drawing a map, and I want to distinguish that this is the part that players can walk through, and that this out here is solid rock. Let's get in a little closer here. We're kind of at 200%. So the common way to demarcate that in RPG art is to do these series of 3 lines called cross-hatching. Now, to do this by the book in this sort of quote-unquote old school analog kind of way, it definitely takes a confident hand, a lot of patience, and a bit of a sensibility for doing variable tangency between lines. So you want your lines to kind of vary and to wander and to feel interesting. Okay, so now here's our little cave tunnel. You're definitely not walking where the cross-hatching is, right? So you're walking in here where the dirt is, which is represented by dots. There you go. Okay, so that is the shortest possible example of what cross-hatching is all about. So, obviously, you can spend your time doing this. You can have a room that's a circle and there's a big pillar in the middle and you can't walk in the pillar. And so it's kind of hatched off like this. And then these are the outer walls. And so they're, and then, whoa, right away when I do a circular room, and I'm like, hey, this is difficult to do the cross hatching. I feel weird right now. Like, where am I supposed to pick these tangents such that it will, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be drawing these lines for the rest of freaking time. Okay, so I got a solution for you. So this one is just crazy, but we're going to keep this guy over here as an example. All right, now hold on to your butts because this is where it gets cool. The remarkable for the average artist is, yes, overpriced and limited. If you're an established and very confident ink artist, the remarkable can work really good. Okay, so here's our corridor again, right? Just like before. And let's get our little dirt dots. Now we want, probably just me as the GM, I want to remember that this part out here is solid rock. So I need my cross hatching. Well, I've got a trick for you guys. So go into your brush. And first I'm going to show you the end result. Look at this. I made a cross hatching brush. Now it's not perfect, but dang if it doesn't save time. You just get in here and kind of do this, right? Add a couple of bits here, a couple bits here, a couple bits there. Clean it up with your eraser so it doesn't kind of look weird where it doesn't feel right on your brain. You know, get that barrier between hatched and not hatched really clean like that. And I'm done. Holy framboli, that is not bad at all. That's a nice little tool. How do you do it? I'll show you. All right, so first what you're going to do is you're going to draw 3 lines with your normal ass pen. Let's go to our normal ass pen because our normal pen is our bread and butter. You're just going to draw 3 lines like that. Don't get crazy. Now load that selection, and this is all Photoshop talk, but if you're out there, I hope you can appreciate this. Go in here to edit and say define brush and call this crosshatch magic. Crosshatch magic. Okay, now it's ready. Okay, so we go done. Oh, we don't want to do any of that. Done. And we don't need a layer anymore, so we're back on that layer, our cross-hatching layer. And I got my brush. Look at that. Hey, wait a minute. Uh-oh, it doesn't work. That's because you're not done. Go to your brush options, and you're going to do what I'm going to tell you to do. You're going to go to Shape Dynamics. You're going to turn up some angle jitter. You're going to go back to your tip shape, and you're going to do the spacing until this little example down here feels pretty dang cool. Oh, getting there. Nice, nice. And you're just going to visually adjust it until you're feeling kind of cool. Let's just call it right there. Why not? Whoop, 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 whoop. Oop, they're too close together. It's not working. Now you just have to go through this struggle. There we go. No, something's still in right. Well, it must be my angle jitter. Get it up. Maybe in, I don't know, where in there somewhere. Now, okay, now they're just a little too far apart. See, and just this is a common process when you're creating a custom brush. Now, as you can see, the one that I showed you at the beginning, I had worked on quite a while. And so it was like really quite accurate. I still don't have enough angle jitter here, meaning the randomness introduced to the angle of the brush. That's a little better. Still not perfect though, is it? Looks kind of like weird railroad tracks or a bunch of boards laying around. And this is the magic where you really do earn your keep as an artist, is doing all these little adjustments. There we go. Now I'm getting it. They're still, oh yeah, hey, that was a really nice little cluster. So now look, I'm going to mix my new one into my old hand done ones, and I get pretty damn good results. Now they're not perfect, but nothing you do in 1/10 the time of something else is ever going to be perfect. Like maybe they could overlap just a little bit more. And this is it. This is the fun of designing the brush. And especially if you just don't download it yourself, you get that satisfaction of knowing you made your own cross-hatching brush. And if it gets a little bit sloppy, that's totally okay too. So cross-hatch fast is the one that I've, look at this crazy one. It's just a huge blob. And then I have this one, which is my well-refined one. So it doesn't look like much when I just sort of stick it out there, does it? Why is that? Because it needs a barrier to live on. It needs a line to live on. Like there. That actually is an example of the crosshatch brush working at its absolute best. So now I go back to my oval brush. Right? This is a staple of everyday drawing. And then I kind of do this in reverse order, which was the hatch first and then the line. And look how tasty that hatch came out. It's great. And yes, you can do angle jitter to pressure, and you can do many, many more settings. But I am assuming that y'all are looking for the basic info here. Now I can kind of cap off this fast hatching with a little bit of custom hatching. And Mono is absolutely correct. There are so many more layers of depth if you really do enjoy making brushes. And I strongly recommend making your own brushes. It's so satisfying and will always give your work something very unique over someone else's. So I'm not really looking at how many of y'all have tuned in tonight. I know this is a very specific topic, but it's a big part of my life, so what the hell? Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Ingrid Bernal here. So there you go. I'm really happy with that. And if you see little spots where you're not happy with it, Just go in and do little cleanups. Just say, hey, I don't like that. Hey, I don't like that. I don't like you. You look weird. Get out of my restaurant. No cheeseburger for you. This guy's funky. This line feels wrong. That's too long. This shouldn't be here. There we go. Now I'm really talking. That's a very hand done looking crosshatch. And holy bamboli, is it fast. It is insanely fast. So I get my line down. Here's my other side of my corridor. Then I just switch. Get the size right. Make sure it matches my other side to a little bigger. There we go. Good enough for me. And then just trace along the line. And check it out. It's not as perfect as Owlbear Rodeo, but it's damn near close. And you're not in someone else's tool. You're using your own cross-hatched, custom-made brush because you hung out on Runehammer. Go back to my super trusty oval brush. There we go. And I'm back. So that is lesson number 3 for creating this sort of RPG analog feeling in your digital artwork using Photoshop. Hey, Kyle, how you doing? Okay, then we got one more to talk about. And this one isn't necessarily just to get things to look analog, but to get them to look good. And I've talked about this in a few other streams, but it really bears talking about again. Line weight. Line weight. That's a line. This has line weight. That has line weight using pressure. This has line weight using going back over it and scribbling a little bit. This has line weight being even looser with it. But it is, the definition of it is a line that is lightweight here and heavy somewhere like here. There is no amount of work on the art of line weight that is too much. Line weight can do lighting. It can do analog or a sense of noise. It can do implied detail. And most importantly, it can do eye attraction. You will find that in a piece of art with a ton of lines, your eye will be drawn to heavier places. Okay, so let's get into something here. What the heck are you drawing, Hengrid? I don't know. Looks like a guy that's downright melted in a frying pan. But wait a minute. There's also an eye here. And then down here. But also, like, this is someone's chin and this is lips. And these are eyelids. But this is also like somebody smiling. And then there's some cheekbones here. But in these cheekbones, there's some eyes hidden away. And this eye isn't as upright as you thought it was. It's kind of upside down looking. And here's this nose. And here's a cheekbone. But that cheekbone is actually part of a profile that we're seeing over here. And here's a nose. And here's some lips. And then here are some Frankenstein eyes. And here's his big Frankenstein nose. And he's kind of like sad like that. And here's his chin goes like that. And here's an eye. And there's a thing there. And then this whole damn thing is a big eyeball. And so is this one. And here's the nose. And here's the mouth. And here's another eye, but the head's upside down. So here's the nose. And here's the lips down here. Okay. Now I have a bunch of completely psycho lines melting into each other, drawing basically like different faces that are melting into one another, right? Now, before you come at me with like, what the hell's wrong with you? Oh my God, no. Dear Lord. Watch what happens when I just go back in and employ line weight. What I can do is I can pull your eye around. Line weight means I add ink to lines, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add ink to various parts of these lines. And I'm going to go on instinct a little bit here. So I can't explain my instincts. But my main instinct right now is to try to differentiate and make like these different faces and personalities pop off the canvas. And I can do that by using line weight. Whoa, hold up. Did you guys see what just happened? Right here, I filled in a somewhat big area with black, meaning adding line weight. And suddenly my eye wants to be right there. I am losing track of going elsewhere. So what I do is I start to add that amount of fill, that amount of weight elsewhere in the piece. Now my eye starts to bounce from side to side. It's looking for somewhere to rest, somewhere to find depth and detail. And it's always going to be drawn to black. So do you see, as I begin to draw and redraw and draw again on each line, each little shape begins to take on more identity and lets your eye rest there longer. If you can feel that feeling and why it's happening, you understand line weight. Now, don't pay attention to the fact that this is a weird, like frying pan melted multi-personality, basket case kind of thing. That's not the point. Drawing weird stuff is fun, but that isn't the point. The point is that I can pull your eye around in an almost like a swirl just by using the weight of these lines. I am in control here. I can pull your eye around. And if you can see right now how I'm doing that, you're definitely on the road to understanding line weight. Now, this is one of the more nuanced versions of the lesson. This takes a lot of very strange confidence to be able to do this stuff. Is Death Squad's art? Yeah, Death Squad is completely done, Azimuth. All right, so there we go. I'm done with that example for now. And now what I want to do is, since I bent your mind so stiffly like that, I want to give you a much more simple version of it. Back to our friend, the corridor in the cave, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're game masters. We don't draw melting faces. We draw corridors. So look what I'm doing. I'm drawing the same line again. And my hand, since it's loosened up, just has errors. And now I'm going to fill in the gap between the errors. Now, do you remember the purpose of line weight in the melted faces? It's to make my eye linger somewhere. As you can see by the way I'm using line weight in this drawing right here, this corridor, I've put these two heavy spaces right here. Like this is very heavy and this is heavy, heavy, heavy. There is a totally cool and unspoken implication that somehow this is the important part of this drawing. It is so weird. Now, if you doubt this and you think I'm making it up, I want to show you something really strange. I'm going to erase all that line weight. And this is where you really get into how weird the eye is. The eye has these strange habits. Okay, look at that. And now we're going to do the weird thing. We're going to put the line weight down here. And instantly you can feel what I feel. because all of our eyes are human and we all think the same way. Somehow this is either the conclusion or the important part of this corridor. It's either the start, like where we're going to get a dramatic entrance on some stairs, or maybe it's the conclusion where there's like a dead end here and there's a crazy like pentagram on the ground. You can feel it and it's weird, but once you get it, you can use it. And that is what's fun about line weight. So let's go back to our old friend Crosshatchy. And we'll kind of fill him in. So just carefully following my outline here. And naturally, you will want to do that. Adding a few extra strokes down here where this imagined weight is. Okay, now a little bit of cleanup. Some little spots I don't like. I'm not even sure why I don't like them, but it doesn't matter because I'm in control here. I get to erase what I don't like. And now we get the final thing. Somehow we have implied shape, just like Missa says. Somehow we have, this could be an implied like a tree trunk with nighttime behind it. Or we have a tunnel where somehow, like, what's the difference here anyway? Why is it like this down here? Is this deeper in the earth? Is the slope going that way? Is this like more vertical on the walls of the tunnel? It doesn't matter what it implies. It's the fact that it implies differentness that makes it do what we're doing in this lesson, which is adding analog variety to your work. It feels like you're saying something here. Like what is this artist saying about this part of the tunnel? Honestly, I don't care. But something is being said. This is so much darker than up here. Like if I continue these lines, they just keep getting huger. Like if this is a tree trunk, it means that the light is coming straight sort of from the camera, and these are the sides of the tree trunk, but somehow the light is focused up here, and there's less light down here because there's more darkness. And oh, look, if I just keep going, there's a bunch of darkness down here. Now the effect of line weight pulling your eye this direction is undeniable. This is the art of using line weight and using it with strange intention as an artist. And when you couple it with some of the stuff we've been talking about prior, like using cross-hatching, using noise and using bleed to create an analog look, and then loosening up, this is where you get magic in your digital art. Let's return to our hand. Let's get some line weight in here. Let's imagine that there's a light source up there, the sun or something. So just on the far side, there's some dark stuff. I'm just going over lines I've already drawn. I'm just adding weight to them. I'm adding ink. Done. Oh, whoa, it looks kind of like it's lit now. Okay, that's cool. Well, let's accent that sort of almost accidental lighting feeling with some hatches. Don't need a bunch, just a few little hits here and there. Now you got a little cleanup because, hey, screw you. I don't like you. You look weird. Okay, you're kind of weird. There you go. Let's tidy that. All right, whatever. That's neat. You're kind of strange. I don't know what's going on there. Go back to a good old trusty. Add a few little custom touches to make everything look tasty. And look at all that character that I'm getting. Now, Azimuth, you make a great point. Viking Death Squad is almost a case study in what I would consider it's sort of some advanced drawing techniques, which means using less undos and really committing and also, you know, really going for fill and letting it happen. If we want to really like embrace some fill stuff, let's get crazy with it. I'm just drawing a big area with my lasso here. Super sloppy. I'm just going for it. Pang, like that. Let me finish it off with a marker, just like I was using a huge Sharpie. Then here's a pro tip. Get white ink and do an outline. This is where the outer edge of the object is catching a tiny bit of light, but more so it's just a graphical technique to show where your shape is. And it just pops like hella between our cross-hatching, our pencil noise, our line weight, and now some of the Viking Death Squad techniques. And then if you want to go Viking Death Squad, you always need some little bits of white paper that are showing through, places where the ink has failed. Again, these are simulated analog events. And then there's like a cloud of weird space gas behind this hand. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of feel going on with this goofy hand drawing all of a sudden. I don't know anything about highlights, line weight applying to the highlights. I haven't ever drawn any highlights. If you mean the outer line, well, sure, because I'm sort of drawing loosely. So see, like when I'm drawing in white like that, if I'm just loose with my pressure, I get light and heavy lines. So yeah, there is line weight. The easiest way to do line weight, well, not the easiest, actually, it's the hardest skill to learn, but the fastest way is to just use pressure like this, and then to push hard and go light and hard for pressure. But that does take a lot of nuance in the strokes that you're doing. But I feel pretty cool about this. Like, this is a neato drawing of a disembodied hand floating in space using these techniques that we're talking about. So that has been about an hour of drawing training. I hope you guys appreciate it. Yes, there is a lot of color in Viking Death Squad, but nothing like Warmaker. Viking Death Squad uses a very, very focused color theory with exactly 5 colors. And I know that everybody's really curious about the 2 books that are coming out soon. But I'm just holding out. I'm getting everything lined up, and this is the most complex and biggest release I've ever done. So I hope everyone can just be patient with me. Cross hatching, line weight, using bleed, and using pencil noise, and loosening up your hand to get this more analog feel. And in the sort of the sidecar of something being analog, it also is sort of interpreted as being awesome by the eye. Hold on to your nuts because I'm spinning around. There I am. Hey, guys. See, it was me all along. Although, looks kind of dark, doesn't it? Not staring right at a monitor anymore. I got to turn it up. Hey, everybody. It is kind of dark in here, so my monitor pops. Hi. That is it for tonight. So if you guys want to throw some questions in, let's get it done. My beer's empty. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, what a treat. There's like a third of this left. It didn't fit. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Those are the tips I wanted to get out. And I know sometimes they see simple or really direct and even sometimes obvious, but doing them and mastering them, that's the fun. Thanks, Great Cthulhu. I am still doing that. I'm easing off of it a little bit. We've got our sort of end of summer, fall life coming up. There's some schooling that's going to be involved. And as the world sort of returns a little bit, the bills return with it. So I'm going to ease back on Phil Abundance. Your tips here are still welcome there, but I would expect to kind of eased back on it. I was almost matching everybody for a while there, doing $200 a month at one point just for Phil Abundance. So I'm probably going to ease back on that and let a little more of the Google revenue kind of come on into the account so that we can afford school and everything this fall semester. All right, Benny, you know the rules. Benny Kunkel. What's up, y'all? Thanks all 90 of you for hanging out with old Ingrid today. Pen and paper, and I have a scribbly style, yeah. Nothing in this video is automatic. Thanks for the question, Benny. Absolutely nothing is automatic here. In my experience, nothing about doing art is automatic. It all comes from hard work and practice, and also relaxation and being yourself. Not all people draw and do art the same, and nor should they. It would be a horrible world. Sometimes it can be hard to just appreciate what you do in your own context, but that is a huge step for enjoying doing art to me. And I know plenty of artists who are somewhat tormented because they are trying to do it at a certain standard or like someone else. And that is a noble endeavor, but it can be very frustrating. Mark Turner says, how are you? I say, fine. Hello. Yes, Daniel, Master Edition is coming. Patience, please. I know it's taking a long time, but this is a big, complex release, as I mentioned. So just be patient. It'll be here. Yes, I watched all of Masters of the Universe. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. I cannot wait for the next cluster of episodes. I love it. I love everything about it, even how they tributed the old show. And I know that some people are complaining about it, but I feel like maybe they didn't watch the old show because the old show was about feelings and He-Man was in it like 10% of the time. That's the show. Yo, what's up, Mappernomicon? Have a good night, man, and a good Szechuan. So yeah, we're just kind of keeping it chill because my group skipped a beat this week. I'm going to finally get my basement set up so that I can host because I've got now 7 players who are getting interested. So I'm going to need to form probably a second group, a spin-off group, and also get a little more skilled with when we play so that I can keep everybody rolling and trucking. So tables just keep on going, keep on going. Yeah, so you have a specific question, put question in all caps before it. And when we run out of questions, I get the hell out of here. It's good to see everybody. Catch up with me on Instagram. And as I mentioned, Viking Death Squad is coming, and it is coming in hot. I cannot wait to release this book. Also, the colossal 408-page Index Card RPG Master Edition, which also comes in a collector's edition. That's super cool with it's going to be great, is also coming. But these, I'm going for a far higher quality level this time. So enough said on that front, but it's taking more time. So all the work of the creation is just now sort of done, and it's time to do the hard work of actually getting it in your hands. And so that is underway. I know it seems like it's taking forever. To me, it seems like an eternity, but we're going to get there, and it's going to be awesome. Food to serve, the pizza, beer. Does the Remarkable 2, I don't know. I don't have a Remarkable 2. I still have the original one. Advice for someone with shaky hands for an injury, but really wants to learn to draw. Yes, just keep trying and just force that hand to relax. Shaky hands, because, like you have all kinds of stuff going on with your tendons and everything. There's going to reach a point where you will only get so steady, even with a great deal of practice, and you're just going to have to embrace the style that it creates. There's a lot of great artists out there that use a shaky style. At some point, you're going to have to embrace it. But yeah, that's a tough challenge, man. But don't let challenges stop you. Nothing worth doing in life is ever easy. Would you do a stream about using color? Yeah, sure. Good idea. Will you do a second group? Yes, I will. And we'll stick with Hacked OSE. Yeah, I'm going to be playing Hacked OSE probably all through the year. And then I'll probably be slowly blending into playing a lot more Viking Death Squad next year. We're also playing West End Games Star Wars right now. which is a great system. And there's always index card RPG pickup games going on. And I've run a lot of longer games in index card RPG. But for me, I was running ICRPG for like 6 years straight. So I'm ready to let it breathe a little bit as it reaches its final form. And then when that kind of momentum comes back together, I'll hit it. But to be secretly honest, I still use the loot tables from ICRPG in everything I run. Favorite comic book artist could be, I don't know, could be Jack Kirby, could be Greg Capullo, could be Todd McFarlane, could be, oh man, I don't know. Could be, oh man. Could be Matt Herrera, could be Jim Lee. That's a tough one, man. That's a big group of people. I've been drawing my maps on the fly on index cards. Yeah, man, that's where it's at. Any tips for drawing those index card maps? Yes, I do have a tip. Where is it? And the tip is all about the tip. Where is it? It's because I've been using it too much. Here we go. Get this. This is what you want. This is a chisel tip Sharpie. It's way bigger than a normal Sharpie. Here, I'll show you. This is a Sharpie. This is the bad boy. See that difference? It's got uneven width to it. This is the monster. These things are so great and they deliver so much ink. And the chisel lets you deliver like line weight really quickly without ever having to scribble in the fills. And if you do need to scribble in a fill, like nothing is faster than this monster. These things are absolutely fantastic. It's just called Sharpie Chisel Tip. Get these. You will not regret it. Get a case of these things. Yeah, Capullo is cool. Yeah, Ramita's great. Mike Mignola's great. What do you put on my pizza? Oh, pineapple and pepperoni, bro. All the way. What do you feel about Alex Ross, the guy from Justice? I'm not into any of that stuff. I can't stand DC, and I don't like that realism stuff at all. That's not for me. Yeah, give it a try, Dolphins. I think you'll really like it. They just really deliver a lot of stuff. Oh, yeah, man. Lobo. Simon Beasley's Lobo is fantastic. Man, some of those old Lobo covers with the where he was doing the gouache paintings, those were so sick. Yeah, exactly, Dolphins. Like you don't want to spend time. So if you're doing tentacles or you're doing like a pit or a staircase, you really want to do 12, 15 strokes. You know, you don't want to be mucking about with it. You need that momentum, and that's where that big marker is your homie. But you don't want to go as big as a Magnum because A, the vapors it puts off are deadly, and B, it goes right through the index card and you'll like draw on your friend's table with Sharpie, which is bad. So don't go Magnum. They're too big. Anything you really struggle to draw? Absolutely. I mean, almost everything. But really complex perspective, I think, is difficult for everyone who does it, even the masters. So you guys will see. I have some illustrations in Greg Gillespie's new book, his new Barrow Maze sequel book, kind of, another big mega dungeon book. And I'm not allowed to show those drawings until he releases the book, which is early next year. But yeah, I had to kind of stretch some of those muscles to do some of those illustrations. Really happy to be part of that project too. It's really sitting next to some seriously epic illustrators in that book. The Sharpies don't have the poisonous vapors anywhere near like the Magnums do. Okay. It's a pretty chill night, I gotta admit. Sometimes we go for like 2 hours in here. Are you resin? No, I don't 3D print at all. I love it. It's neat, but I only use metal miniatures and I don't 3D print. Is there any system you're willing to try as a player? Almost all of them. The only one that I've ever really played that I truly dislike is Fate. What was the thing that made you want to DM OSE? Oh, thanks, Poe Panda. I appreciate that. Yeah, that hack was the creation of me and my players together. So I'll let them know that you said that. What was the thing that made you want to DM it? Well, we just talked, we're all kind of also like drinking buddies, and like, I hang out with a lot of people in the service industry, and over the course of last year, we'd been talking about how, we wanted to kind of delve into what D&D was like at its origin. And so not really getting into the term old school so much as just talking about the actual origin, which was, about 74-ish. Not because the past is cooler than today, but just as a fun exercise to see where we would take some of the same conceptual seeds and what would happen with us. And so OSE, to me, not only fits that, but OSE is also, I think, the single greatest D20 rule book that has ever been published. I think it actually dwarfs anything that actual D&D has ever published. And a lot of people criticize me saying that that's just because of the layout. But it's not the layout. It's also the way that it's written, and the carefulness and the concision of the writing, the indexes, and the way that it's organized, the size of the book itself, the portability, and also the readability, the compactness, to get what D&D truly is at its essence down into the tastiest possible package. Necrotic Gnome has done a brilliant job with that. And I think it also just calls out to me for the style that I see in D&D. So it just speaks to me. And I plan on living inside of OSE for quite some time. I really think it's a fantastic, fantastic take on D&D. It doesn't mean that it's this is the last system I'm ever going to play. No. There's always room to play 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 systems at any given time because they're all fucking fun. But OSE is it's just tasty and it's fun and it fits where we're at. Yeah, thanks, Cthulhu. Really having fun reporting to you guys what's going on in our campaign. And it's going to expand because we're going to splinter into 2 groups, and those 2 groups are going to live in the same world together and with interchangeable player combinations. So it's going to be really, really fun, and I'll keep you guys up to date. Yeah, well, Baffled Orange, I think that newer systems is a very large generalization. There are new systems out there like Tiny D6, which are extremely simple, and there are new systems out there like Pathfinder 2.0. I mean, it is a huge world of RPGs right now, and generalizations are getting very difficult to use in a constructive way. So complexity and crunch is happening in our hobby just as much as streamlining and simplicity. It's all just a matter of what you're interested in and going there. And there's nothing wrong with any of these play styles. If it's fucking fun, great. But if there's frowns at the table, maybe need to work on some stuff. That is the standard by which we judge what we play. Man, Dragon Magazine is the shit. Yeah, and I'm the same. Horga, thank you for sir. Do wait, Jorga Hawaii. I remember, don't fuck with Jorga. But me too. That's why I don't like the term old school, because for me, back in the day, we played all kinds of mishmashed craziness. There was no one thing that was old school. We were all over the place. We were playing TMNT. But when people talk about TMNT, they don't associate that with the OSR. But it was totally back then. So I don't like that term. I think it's whack and overly simple. But playing something that feels like the origin era of D&D with Dave Arneson, that's something specific, and that's something we can recreate and we can enjoy nowadays. But just calling stuff old school because you think it's this, that, or the other thing, that to me is an overgeneralization. When I was a boy, RPGs were confusing as fuck. Dude, we played Rifts and we never played it right. And that's okay, because it's a damn game. And the crazy thing about a book is it can't self-enforce. It can't tell you you're doing it right or wrong because it's a book. We get to be who we want at the table. The book just has to freaking sit there and be an inanimate object. I keep forgetting to ask you if you've tried Barbarians of Lemuria. I have not. I need to get around to that one. The Number of the Beast. Thanks, Azimuth. Old school when I was a kid meant like people playing records in Brooklyn. Like old school was like disco. Had nothing to do with RPGs. Riffs is freaking awesome. And yes, it is a mess. And the fact that those two things can be simultaneously true is what sets us free. TMNT, also mechanically a mess. That whole parry system is silly, but doesn't matter. You get the book, you get the parts you're excited about, you play with your friends, and it's great. 666. Wow. Old school. Yeah. Anybody want to streak the quad? Oh, yeah. All Palladium is also how I started. Hero system and all that good stuff. Or Fantasy Hero, I mean. Yeah. Hey, peace. Cthulhu, updates on the Ren Fair costume. No updates. I'm getting ready to age the belt. And then the rest of the stuff I'm going to get at Fair, which is on my birthday this year, which is bizarre and crazy and frighteningly awesome. But I always try to age my gear before I go to the fair. So it's just kind of hanging up there to remind me to go roll around in the mud. What am I reading? I'm reading nothing nowadays. I am completely swamped in the work of releasing the two biggest, most complex books I've ever published at the same time. I am not reading. I'm resting, playing with my dog, and working, if you can call it work. Which would you rather DM for, a group of casters or melee characters? Ugh, casters. They're easier to troll. Melee characters are just too rock steady. Nothing to make fun of. In Hungarian, it's a negative term. Yeah. There are negative connotations to it here, too. It means outdated here, too. But then there are people who have co-opted it to mean they were there and you're not cool enough to know how hard it was to be, how hard it is to be outdated. Man, is it difficult, all you modern people. And it's all bullshit. Things were different, years ago, but there is no intrinsic value in a thing being from years ago. We live in a better, bigger, more wonderful world than we did. The world gets better all the time, even with all our challenges. I know we have challenges right now, but the world is always improving because we're the human race and we're fucking awesome. Hank, you might like The Lies of La Gomorrah. Boy, does that sound familiar? Ooh, another cool one is The Green Knight comes out tonight in theaters. And I don't know if you guys heard this, but they published an RPG box set with the movie. I can't strongly recommend the box set. It is really cool, really flavorful, but very simplistic and definitely intended for an audience that has never played or is not familiar with RPGs, but in a very simplistic way. At the same time, they nailed it as far as the old school box set goes. Really fun. It's 8 o'clock. I got to get out of here. I've been here for an hour and a half. I'm out of beer. And it's about that time to call it and go watch a movie. Isn't that what everybody does on Friday? I don't know. Yeah, dolphins. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I know this was a really specific, kind of almost like technical stream, but that is part of Runehammer, too. So this is a thing I do. This video will go right into the Drawing is Fun playlist. So if you haven't seen some of those videos, there's a lot of other great exercises in there. If you're trying to learn to do sort of some of the stuff that I do, which is sort of this ink style drawing for RPGs. That's kind of my jam right there. Hey, yeah, thanks. Kuchigari, thanks a lot. Benny, thanks. Appreciate that. And Justin, yeah, those melted faces, man. That's where it's at. Give it a try while you're sitting on the couch And, when you start to feel weird and sort of wiggly skin about it, just keep drawing. You'll be fine. The next OSE recap will be hopefully next Friday, a week from today. We've got a little bit of scheduling complexity for our normal time, but we're going to try to squeeze one in before next Friday with our catacomb group. So if you go watch the session 15 recap, you know that we need to get these catacombs done. So we're going to try to keep that little subgroup tight together and finish that portion of the campaign before we kind of come back into the daylight and reassemble the full group. So I will let you guys know exactly how it goes down. Until then, strength, honor, and beer. My name is Ingrid Bernal. Thanks for tuning into Runehammer. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on that internet. Hang loose. The juice, the juice, the juice. Hang loose. The juice, the juice.